You're about to listen to the Dr. Daliah Show. Sassy, stimulating medical talk radio. Any medical advice Dr. Daliah Wax gives on her show should not be substituted for an actual visit to your medical provider. And now, here's Dr. Daliah.
All right. We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-Dr. Dali, 1-877-DOCDALI. So a common question I'm getting is, while we're finally seeing big food listen to RFK Jr., follow the lead of California, that has already been banning a lot of these food dyes, and these food dyes have been linked to multiple issues: hyperactivity, low sperm count, cancer in animals and rodents, genotoxicity affecting the genes. We're looking at autism and the genetic causes of autism. Makes you wonder if some of these food additives could, be affecting some of the genes that could possibly be changing the fetus or pregnant mom or young kids. And our food dyes and our bright, vibrant, neon-colored, bright orange food is a marketing ploy. It has nothing to do with our nutrition. It's a marketing ploy for big food. And so PepsiCo said that even though they've eliminated most of their additives and food colorings in the majority of the products, they are going to work to have them all eliminated now, at the behest of RFK Jr. and Health and Human Services Secretary and Trump administration. But a question I keep getting is, well, then how do you color food? If food additives are not the safest and the healthiest, and not all of them, but we're looking at red 40, yellow 1, I think yellow 5 and 6, and there's blue 1 and blue 2, and others that the Trump administration wants to eliminate out of food. How do you dye your food? What can you use for food colorings? Well, there's a lot of options, and I don't really need my chip neon orange or my Mountain Dew fluorescent looking green. I don't need that. But again, it's marketing. These companies want to attract, the eye of individuals to see what, and so, there's a lot of natural occurring substances that are really vibrant with color naturally. I don't know if any of you have ever spilled pomegranate juice all over your white shirt. I have. Boy, that sucker's bright. So you could use pomegranate juice. Beets have this neon fuchsia, beautiful color. I'm not a big fan of the beets taste, but and one of the reasons why is because, again, the dye, I get all dirty whenever I eat beets. But you could use for red food coloring beet juice, a beet powder. For green, you could use spinach juice, spinach powder, parsley juice, parsley powder. There's a lot of things that are green, naturally green, that you could use. Make sure they're pesticide free. Again, if you need to make pink, you could lighten up the beet juice or the cranberry juice. For blue, there's a lot of cabbages that have blue coloring. And so, or you could use the purple coloring and dilute it down to blue. You could get purple coloring from blueberries, from purple sweet potatoes, from red cabbage, grape juice even. SAS Blogs describes a lot of these. For oranges, you could use carrot juice, carrot powder, paprika. For yellow, turmeric is very yellow, very bright. Saffron. If you need brown coloring, you could use cocoa. You could use cinnamon. You could use espresso. So there's not that I want our cereals to have espresso, but there's it's not that difficult, people. It really isn't that difficult. And so companies have already, especially in Europe and Asia, have been using natural forms of fruits, vegetables, food additives, so that they don't have to be using these chemicals. And I think we need to train Americans to not, necessarily be duped into high, bright, colored drinks. I'm sorry. I know a lot of people like Mountain Dew, but I purposely don't drink it because of the color. I'll drink water. I feel that's a safer choice. And many of us, when we take vitamins like B vitamins, our urine will almost glow, right? With that neon yellow look. It's because our body, is eliminating the riboflavin and some of the components that it doesn't need. It doesn't mean, oh, wow, I'm really getting good vitamins in. It means your body is rejecting something. Now, I'm not saying don't reject the vitamins, but don't overdo. Our bodies know what it needs and what it doesn't need. And certain colorings or certain things that have colors it doesn't want. Another thing we're also forgetting is even if a study says, look, we've done this, used this dye, the dye has had no issues in the lab. Well, what happens if it sits in your car in the heat? What happens if it denatures over time? We need fewer and fewer chemicals in our food. That's just the way it has to be. And, if it takes RFK Jr. to finally get everybody off their butts, so be it. Hallelujah. And, I think we really need to get everybody on board. I'm glad PepsiCo is getting on board. And I understand that, California, and we spoke about this years ago when California started to ban Red 40 and other dyes, that if you were a food company, see the writing on the wall. You might want to already start eliminating some of these. Now, people are saying, yeah, but it's too much, too quick. RFK Jr. wants them to cut the sugar. They want them to cut the fat and the emulsifiers and the other food additives. Honestly, what better time than now? I don't want this over 30 years. I want to know that my kids and later grandkids are going to be eating healthy food today. I don't need, this to be something, well, in the future, this is a goal. Do it now. I really don't think the public is going to miss a less orange Cheeto. I really don't. 1-877-DOC-DALIAH. Guys, Dr. Daliah here. Addictions can sneak up on us and come in many forms, whether it's drugs, alcohol, sex, video games, porn, or something less obvious such as food, internet, or shopping. Addiction can seem innocent at first and then evolve into an insurmountable evil. In our book, Addiction Basics, Caitlin Kalikas and I dive into the common addictions and provide tips for identifying and preventing these before they sneak in and take over our lives. Addiction Basics can be found on Amazon or my website, drdaliah.com. Check it out.
Carl Amari here to tell you about our newest website for old-time radio lovers. It's 100radioshows.com. At this site, there are 5 old-time radio shows waiting for you to download free as our gift to you, and be sure to browse the additional 700 old-time radio shows available to you for 70% off by using the promo code RADIO at checkout. This is a limited-time offer, so log on to 100radioshows.com. That's 100radioshows.com.
At Hot Shot Secret, we share the science behind common diesel problems. For example,
diesel fuel cetane levels.
The cetane rating in diesel fuel is 42 to 45. Most diesel engines operate more efficiently with a cetane rating of 48 to 50. One treatment of Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme will raise your cetane 7 points, increase fuel economy, and improve cold starts.
Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme is available nationwide at truck stops, fine farm and auto stores, and online at hotshotsecret.com. Hot Shot Secret, powered by science.
In a study, it was found that 33% of 44 herbal supplements had no trace of the advertised herb. Don't let that happen to you. Hi, this is Dr. Mitch. If you want to ensure quality, please go to totalwellness.com. Supplements made for physicians only now available to you too. totalwellness.com, helping you to look good, feel good, and enjoy total wellness.
Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-Dr. 1-877-DOCDALI. Big thanks to Talk Media Network for making the show happen. Big thanks to Daniel, our producer. And big thanks to you all for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter at Dr. Daliah, Facebook, The Dr. Daliah Show. And on YouTube, click like and subscribe. Okay, so paying for sex should be a felony. Paying for sex, if it's a minor, should be a triple, quadruple, quintuple felony. That is bad, 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 bad. And we are being told that today that there are some California lawmakers wanting to block the law making it a felony to solicit and buy sex from a 16 or 17-year-old child. They're still children. They're minors. Why on earth would any lawmaker not want to call it like it is? Well, okay, apparently some lawmakers are worried that if you make trafficking a 16 or 17-year-old or engaging in the sex with a 16 or 17-year-old that's trafficked, and making that a felony will hurt certain underrepresented races and communities. So this is being reported by KCRA 3. And they say California lawmakers in the Assembly Public Safety Committee are blocking a proposal that would make it a felony to purchase 16 and 17-year-old children for sex. Assemblyman Nick Schultz, this is being again reported by KCRA, the Democratic chairman of the committee, confirmed that AB 379, which is supposed to crack down on consumers of child sex trafficking, will move forward. The bill will, but it will not have the proposed felony charge. Why not? They said this is the latest development in a debate that has been underway for more than a year at the state capitol. Lawmakers are targeting criminals who buy children for sex. It's about flipping time. They say last year, Republican State Senator Shannon Grove first introduced a proposal to make it a felony to buy a child under the age of 18 for sex. Before, the proposal had only had it as a misdemeanor. Are you kidding me? I don't get that. Listen, I'm from California. I love the state. It's beautiful. I have family there. But what the hell is wrong with the lawmakers over there? This is some frightening stuff. Republican State Senator Shannon Grove and other lawmakers, struck a deal with the Democrats and giving them an ultimatum to allow the felony charge. They called an ultimatum to allow the felony charge to only apply to those who purchase children under the age of 16 for sex. For those who purchase 16 to 17-year-olds, those criminals could face either a misdemeanor or felony, leaving it up to local prosecutors to decide. The law also requires the older teens to prove they're being trafficked. So this was a deal that I guess was made. It's now coming back to haunt this year's proposal, written by Democratic Assembly member Maggie Krell, who spent 2 decades working on trafficking cases for the California Department of Justice. So preventing the felony charge and making it a misdemeanor, which is a slap on the wrist, this is, to me, unheard of. This is ridiculous. I am blown away that something like this is being even fought. But when you were saying, I think it was Assemblyman Gutierrez, I was listening to some of the video on this. They were worried that if you made it a felony to purchase sex from a 16 or 17-year-old child, that would affect certain racial groups and possibly discriminate against them more. No child, no teen, no adult should be trafficked. I understand that there is a huge industry for sex workers, and there are some people there that are willing and voluntarily doing that. And there are some avenues in which they do that legally and make money. But we're talking about a teen. We're talking about a 16-year-old. We're talking about a 17-year-old. What do the parents think? And the problem we have with sex trafficking right now is it's very difficult to discern if somebody did this voluntarily or were they forced, especially when they fear the traffickers. and they fear the cartel, or they fear whoever has a gun to them or their family. And we have, across the globe, millions of individuals who are at risk of being trafficked, if not currently, under tortuous conditions. And we have a state, California, going, you know what? If you end up utilizing this, we're just going to give you a slap on the wrist. Are you kidding me? A child being trafficked and you supporting that, you engaging in it, you paying for it, makes you guilty. And now some people say, but Dr. Daliah, we don't know how old they are. You know, how do you know how old somebody is before you have sex with them? Maybe we need to have an honest conversation about sex with, non-romantic partners and purchasing sex or hooking up with somebody, just on the fly. You should really know who you're being intimate with, whether you fear STDs, whether you fear an unwanted pregnancy, whether you fear they're going to be underage. For the love of the Lord, we've really gotten so casual with it. And I don't mean to sound all old-fashioned, but the last thing you should be worried about and in trouble for and criminalized for is having sex with a teenager if you did your due diligence, if you did your research, and you didn't hook up with somebody or pay for sex so cavalierly. And I think, we need to take a step back. I understand there is a huge movement of lawmakers wanting to ensure that laws don't discriminate against one type of perpetrator or one type of suspect than another. And how you eliminate that is the process and the crime and the penalty is equal all across the board. Now, people are saying, well, then that doesn't, if you make it equal, it's still unequal for individuals. Listen, you traffic anybody, you sleep with somebody who's trafficked and they're a kid, I don't care who you are, I don't care what color you are, I don't care what race you are, that's bad, 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 you go to jail. It's a felony, period. That's it. I mean, if you really want to reduce and eliminate bias and discrimination, then make sure that however a case proceeds is legitimate, 100%, is fair, is equitable across the globe. Now, yeah, we do have individuals that could pay for a fancy lawyer. So the person who gets a fancy lawyer may be able to reduce their sentence and get off scot-free sometimes, whereas somebody who can't afford a fancy schmancy lawyer, that's a problem. That's a big problem in our legal system. Another problem we have is we have right-leaning judges and left-leaning judges. You shouldn't have right-left. Okay, the law is the law. It should make complete sense. And also, let's let a law like this go to the voters. I understand that we're a representative democracy, so we ask for lawmakers to represent us. I don't know which lawmakers are representing their community if they are saying that trafficking and utilization of a trafficked teen is not a felony. I'm sure everybody in that district would be like, what the hell are you talking about? And so if you want to stop sex trafficking, then you need to ensure that whoever is the customer and whoever is the audience for this gets nailed so badly that there is no audience. Trafficking will start going down if there's nobody wanting the product. Unfortunately, though, there's people that want the products, even knowingly that they're children. It's disgusting. And it's sad. And it blows my mind that humans can have that sort of attitude towards sexual assault and these individuals who are obviously there not on their own volition. It's rape. And it's, to me, even more than a felony. So California needs to get their act together. This is ridiculous. 1-877-DOC-DALI, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So, we know that Governor Newsom, from what I understand, Governor Newsom, I believe, wants to make it a felony. So this is not necessarily reflective on him. But unfortunately, some of the Democratic California lawmakers are the ones that are blocking the proposal. So we'll keep you posted on this. But, and this is the state we're in. The people feel that the reason why they're elected is because they are fighting for a cause, or they're fighting to represent a community. And the average community, I think all communities agree that it should be a felony for a 16 or 17-year-old to be trafficked. 1-877-DOC-DOLLY. Don't go away.
At Hot Shot Secret, we share the science behind common diesel problems and their solutions. For example,
Diesel fuel cetane levels.
in many states, the cetane rating in diesel fuel is 42 to 45. Most diesel engines operate more efficiently with a cetane rating of 48 to 50. One treatment of Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme will raise your cetane 7 points, increase fuel economy, and improve cold starts. Due to a cleaner burn, there are less hydrocarbons and particulate matter in your exhaust. This reduces the blockage of your diesel particulate filter. Using Diesel Extreme generates 83% less DPF regeneration. The 6-in-1 Diesel Extreme formula also includes the most concentrated detergent on the market, lubricity enhancer, water demulsifier, rust and corrosion inhibitors, and a fuel stabilizer.
Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme is available nationwide at truck stops, fine farm and auto stores, and online at hotshotsecret.com. Hot Shot Secret, powered by science.
Back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-DOC-DOLLY, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So we're being told, and some people are critical of it, although I'm confused why people are critical of it, but they say employees of the FDA and the NIH and the CDC are being told to use their legal names in official systems. Use your legal name. It's on your birth certificate. If you want to change your name, you could change your name legally. But you have a legal name. You have a legal identifier, your Social Security. That's kind of how you get paid. This is the way we've, done it, and seems to have worked. But apparently things changed during the Biden administration, where transgender employees were able to change their name. Not necessarily legally. And they changed their name that aligned with their gender identity rather than the sex they were assigned to at birth. So the FDA, CDC, and NIH are a part of the directive from the Office of Personnel Management that said, you need to, while they purge DEI and gender identity programs, they also, I guess, turned off features on email platforms that prompted users for their pronouns. But these agencies that are now part of the Department of Health and Human Services want people to use their legal name. Now, as I've said before, if you are changing your name or you're changing your identity, there's a legal process. You can change your name. When I got married, I had to change my name. But critics are critical of this, saying, well, now it's going to affect women and their maiden names and their... I'm kind of confused about that, because when I took on my husband's name, if that was going to be the name I was going to use, and I wanted that on my medical school graduation and my certificate, and if I wanted, later in a part of my licensing, it had to be legit. But the reason why this has not been, followed is because some individuals are gender fluid, and they may one day identify as female, another day identify as male. So they may one day be, Jan, and another day John. Well, that makes it very, very difficult from a payroll standpoint from a law enforcement standpoint, from a medical standpoint. So now people are looking at the FDA and the NIH and the CDC going, well, how are you going to make employees how are you going to force them to use their legal name? The way we've always done it. It should have never changed. Listen, if you identify as somebody else, I appreciate that. I will honor how you want me to address you. That is your choice. Now, if you want to, whatever name you want to go by, but I need the medical record to be identical to your insurance card, to your ID. The reason why when you go to a doctor's office, you have to show them your ID is you can't pretend to be Tom Cruise. You can't pretend to be Brad Pitt and come into the doctor's office. And then I write down, well, Tom Cruise has hemorrhoids. You can't, You have to have legitimate identification that that's who you are. If not, I get sued. I could lose my license. So we need whatever your ID shows and whatever you are legitimately named as to verify that. We have to always verify your identity. And then in medical offices, it's extremely important to understand if you have ovaries or testicles, because we need to make sure we don't miss cancer. We have to be very aware of your biological sex. And we can't ignore it. We can identify you any way you want to be identified. We could address you with any pronoun you want. But I need to know, do you have ovaries or not? Did you have hysterectomy? When you had a hysterectomy, did they still keep your ovaries? I need to know what's inside. And I also need to be aware if you are biologically male or biologically female because of your risk factors. Parkinson's, dementia, stroke, heart attack affect biological males and females differently. And so if it's a no-brainer that identity has to be verified in medical situations or in law enforcement situations, then why is this such a big shock that FDA, NIH, CDC wants their employees to be using their legal names? According to USA Today, the Centers for Disease Control National Institutes of Diabetes and Digestive and Kidney Diseases told employees March 13th in nearly identical memos that employees had until the end of the day to remove pronouns and nicknames from email signatures and that they could use only full legal names. Both memos cited guidance from the Department of Health and Human Services. They say the NIH sent a similar memo March 21st announcing that the agency was removing preferred name information in an internal contact system in order to comply with the Health and Human Services policy on nicknames and the Defending Women executive order. Now, part of this could be because of the bathroom situation. Well, I identify as Janet, so I need to be able to use the female bathroom. And so, President Trump's executive order is protecting women's safe spaces and bathrooms and locker rooms. So they say that this email also warned employees against changing their legal names in the system. They say, please be aware that any change to your legal name in the database will trigger a new background check and a new HHS badge request. They're not wrong. When you work for the government, if you start to change your identity without there being the proper documentation, that could affect your security and your clearances. It makes sense. This isn't a shock. This isn't something that is brand new. It's not Greek, people. Not that foreign. So, they call this an anti-trans agenda. It's really not. If somebody wants to identify as somebody else, there's a legal pathway for them to do it. They could very easily go and say, this is my new name. And then their Social Security, their taxes, everything changes. The laws still allow people to have complete legal name changes. But your biological sex is your biological sex. And medicine and law enforcement and other industries can't completely ignore it. If you come in and you say your name is John or Scott, you're a male, and you're having abdominal bloating, and I missed that you have ovarian cancer, do you think I get a mulligan from the medical board? Do you think your family will not sue me if you are diagnosed with, metastatic ovarian cancer? No. So we have to be aware of we have to have, in certain scenarios, you can't just ignore how you were born. A lot of people want to change their past. I get that. But, I finding that being a different sex is more beneficial to you. Trust me, there's a lot of individuals who say things would be a lot easier, if I was on the Titanic and I was a girl. Trust me, I think everybody on the Titanic wanted to be a woman so they could get saved. Okay, that's not unheard of. But you have to understand that there's processes that come into play. And nobody is, putting an a transgender person in jail for wanting to change their name. Nobody's doing that. So it's that there has to be certain standards and guidelines such that there's no incongruities and misconceptions and issues as it pertains to medicine, security clearance, etc. 1-877 Doc Daliah. Dr. Daliah here. Are you tired, burned out, gaining weight, succumbing to the daily pressures of life? Well, how's your dopamine doing? How you feel right now, how you'll feel an hour from now, and how you'll feel next week is completely reliant on your dopamine. Our daily motivation and willingness to push through challenges depends on the intricate chemical process dopamine provides. Christian Kalikas and I created Deploying Dopamine, a book that tells you what dopamine is, when it dysfunctions, and how to successfully deploy it when needed. Find Deploying Dopamine on Amazon today. Check it out.
In a study, it was found that 33% of 44 herbal supplements had no trace of the advertised herb. Don't let that happen to you. Hi, this is Dr. Mitch. If you want to ensure quality, please go to totalwellness.com. Supplements made for physicians only now available to you too. totalwellness.com, helping you to look good, feel good, and enjoy total wellness.
Self-reliance. It's not a phrase we hear much in our culture these days. It might conjure up images of pioneers, the West, rifles, strapping men, and strong women. But what does it mean for us in today's world? The New American Magazine has just released its latest collector's edition, Self-Reliance, Foundation of Freedom. In it, the New American authors outline the necessity of self-reliance for a free people, tips for self-reliant living, and the importance of not giving up hope. This unique edition includes articles on the self-sufficiency of the founders, preparing for a worst-case scenario, firearms, financial self-reliance, the importance of community, and many other topics by expert writers. Now, for a limited time, the New American is offering a bundle of 3 collector's editions, Self-Reliance, The Great Reset, and Trump World, for just $19.95. Available at shopjbs.org. Visit shopjbs.org today.
All right. We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877 Dr. Daliah, 1-877 DOCDALI. Okay, so I think I figured out how to do the sign in my studio. It has to be backwards. So, because I had the sign, I've had this Dr. Daliah sign for a long time. I just, I'm not good with change. So I guess it has to be flipped because on video it looks flipped. So I think I got it down now. All right. But, while I was kind of working on that, I was thinking about something that we don't talk about a lot. Getting a new look, doing a new look, and changing things up. You would think that's something that most people would embrace. Like, you know what? I'm going to cut my hair. I'm going to change my makeup. I'm going to, change my style of clothing. I'm going to maybe change up the music, change careers. Not a lot of people do that. It's probably pretty frightening to the average person to think about doing that. Now, I had short hair in the 80s, not by choice, but mom wanted me to have short hair. And I couldn't stand it. That all I've ever done is grow my hair out. All I've wanted was longer hair. Yeah, and maybe I do need to try going back to shorter hair. I don't know. Now, why would anybody kind of just change things up? When do you need to change things up? And why wouldn't anybody? Now, me, I don't like change. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. I don't need to. Now, some of you will say, Daliah, you really need to change your outfits. You really need to kind of step things up a little bit from a style standpoint. But I'm comfortable. You know, I have the Spanx style I like. You know, I'm comfortable. But maybe the reason why we need to make a change is because the world changes. And, you know, as much as I like comfortable old shoes, and as much as I like, just not rocking the boat, the people that don't change and don't bend and move with time get, very easily left behind. And if you don't understand that you need to, so I've been in radio now 16 years. Everybody's saying you got to get on TV. You got to be on TV more. You got to be on, and I'm like, oh no, I don't like the way I look. I don't like the way I look. I've done a lot of TV stuff. Radio, still alive and well. Being on radio stations where somebody is in their car and just turns you on, and you're on. These are things that are pretty, pretty standard. I don't think they're going away, but that's not where media is going. Media is going where it's all about TV, and it's all about, seeing people and watching them talk. Same thing with medicine. These doctors saying there is no way I'm going to just do phone calls or I'm going to, see a person online. That's not how we were trained. It's better to see people in person. Listen, I get there is nothing that could replicate a good physical exam in person, but that's where things are going. People don't want to go into the doctor, so we're just never going to take care of them. And I think one reason why people kind of fear, why they fear, making change is because they think people are watching them make a change. And for years people said, well, change up your studio, change up this. And I'm like, I always change my studio. My studio is always changing. But it's embarrassing because what if what I change it to sucks? Like my sign was backwards. I mean, who cares? See, I don't get as embarrassed as easily as other people, but I still care about what people think. But many people, they just can't face what people will think if they did get the new haircut or they made a bad decision. And so what I think you all should do is if there is something that you feel like is getting stagnant, is getting stale, and you need to shake it up, do baby steps. You don't have to revamp your whole living. You don't have to, get a new spouse and a new car, and you don't have to do all that. But little baby steps. Now, if you want to get a new haircut, try it. Just see what happens. If you don't like it, not a big deal. Hair grows, or there's wigs. If you want to try a new style, well, people are going to think I'm trying to look younger. Who cares? People are always going to think bad stuff about you. That's just what they do. Look, there's always haters. You have more haters than supporters, which is why I really treat your supporters really, really well. You got to be nice to your supporters. And so, this fear where people think, well, if I fail or if I look stupid, now who cares? What if looking the same is stupid? What we always see these memes of somebody says the weatherman said to dress for the 70s, outside, like weather 70s, and then somebody dresses in the 70s, right? Bell bottoms and these plaid jackets, etc. Well, what do we think of these grandpas that are still wearing clothes from the 1960s, 1970s? Right? We think they look odd. Why? Because they don't change. They're comfortable. And you know what? They don't give a damn about how we feel. And good for them. If they want to wear clothes that are 50 years old, fine by me. Whatever they want. But Don't fear. If you think you need to make a change, don't fear that change. And you don't have to make changes super big. Okay? Yeah, and you could do baby steps. Let's say you're like, well, gosh, I want to try short hair, but that's too scary. Well, then try medium hair. Or I want to try a beard, and I'm all nervous about that. So I try it. You can tell everybody, yeah, I want to try something new. Trying something new is appreciated by a lot of people. Now, of course, somebody's like, well, why do you want to change? Why do you want to change? Tell everybody to mind their own business. But if you think you need to make a change, whether it's exercising, whether it's a different workout, whether it's a different diet, whether it's whitening your teeth, whether it's a new career or adding, something else to your repertoire, do it. If you want to change your identity where it's like, you know what? I want to be a musician now. I want to be known as an author. You only have one life to live. Life is too short. And making changes or adding things is a part of life. And I want you all, your homework tonight, because I give people homework, is to go home and take a look at something that you have been doing for the last 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. I've been downloading my Facebook Live videos from 2019, 2020, 2021. And I see how my studio changed, and I see little changes in my hair and makeup and all that. But I'm looking and I'm like, I haven't done much differently in the last 5-6 years. Now, maybe it's worked for me, but what's the difference now? Well, I'm older. I'm 5 to 6 years older. That's a big difference. So there are certain things, I watched a video of me dancing. Okay. I learned to dance in the 80s and 90s. That doesn't fly now on the dance floor. So maybe what I need to do is learn how to dance, right? 2025 style. The problem with 2025 style, it's a lot of twerking and it's a lot of, I don't want to call it dirty dancing because dirty dancing was the 80s, but it's a lot of, pelvic thrusts and grinding on people. So I don't think I really want to do that. But, there's always opportunity to improve. There's always opportunity to change. And by the way, just because you change, it doesn't mean you're trying to improve yourself. It doesn't mean you're admitting failure. I was speaking to somebody about, their house and how they redecorated. And they said, yeah, it meant my wife won. No, it does. Is that why you waited this whole time? Because you thought somebody would win? How many of us don't do something because somebody in our family requests it or suggests we do it? And then we don't do it. But you need to. My mom told me to get on radio for years. It wasn't until Mark Spears from Mark and Mercedes, Mark DeSierra, told me, Daliah, you need to be on radio. Then I'm like, okay. Well, come on. And then my friend Ilanit was like, look, you're not too old to go into show business. Do it. And so, but then I'm like, oh, yeah, but then, my mom will say, I told you so. Who cares? Let your mama tell you, you told you so. Trust me. You're going to miss her saying that one day. 1-877-Daliah. Don't go away.
Did you know that healthy arteries make a gas? Yes, actually 3 known gases. Hi, I'm Dr. Mitch, and nitric oxide is a gas that's readily made all day long to keep our arteries open by relaxing the blood vessel walls. By doing this, our circulation is increased, bringing blood, oxygen, and nutrients to every part of your body. Both age and poor diet can lead to a loss of this precious gas, and in turn, blood pressure can go up, energy can go down, and you can get tingling in your hands and feet. Well, our product, Ultimate Nitric Oxide, can easily help fix this lack of nitric oxide. Go to TotalWellness.com. That's TotalWellness.com, where we are helping you to look good, feel good, and enjoy total wellness.